Hey, Undisputed listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com now. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so Skip, Shannon, let's get to it. Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Guys, how we doing today?
Doing good. My old baby bird. Old baby bird looked good last night, didn't he?
Baby bird.
You saw baby bird?
Luka Doncic.
Yeah, Luka.
Do you realize he's shooting 16% from three right now? He's 5 of 31, and you're crowing about him?
Imagine when he starts shooting 35%, he gonna average 40.
Huh.
A 40-point triple-double.
DeMarcus Cousins got thrown out of the game and there's no rim protection?
Hey.
Way to go, Shannon. You're hot.
Yeah.
My guy looked good, didn't he?
Huh,
Didn't look
and
good.
he has been called out plenty
There you go.
already, Shannon. He's maybe listening to the critics. Okay, all right, good stuff, guys. But we actually have to continue talking about the NFC East because they have given us so much drama all season, and the drama continues. After beating the Cowboys Sunday afternoon, the Giants just needed an Eagles win over Washington Sunday night to make the playoffs. However, we all know how that ended, with Philadelphia pulling Jalen Hurts in favor of backup Nate Sudfeld in the fourth quarter of a 3-point game that turned into a 6-point loss. Well, yesterday, New York head coach Joe Judge was asked about the Eagles' handling of the game, and guys, he did not hold back. Take a listen.
To me, you don't ever want to disrespect those players and their effort and disrespect the game. The sacrifices that they made to come into work every day and test before coming in, to sit in meetings spaced out, to wear masks, to have shields over those masks, to go through extensive protocols. There's a number of sacrifices been made by all the players and coaches in this league. There's a number of sacrifices that come along as well with the family members of the people connected to them. To disrespect the effort that everyone put forward to make this season a success for the National Football League, to disrespect the game by going out there and not competing for 60 minutes and doing everything you can to help those players win, we will never do that as long as I'm the head coach of the New York Giants.
Wow, Shannon, did you have any problem with him saying this?
I don't have a problem with what he said. Although he said it for selfish reasons, Skip, he's absolutely correct. I had a very simple saying, Skip, when I played the game of football, and I played 14 years, and a lot of people know my career. You never ask a man more than you're willing to give. You ask your players to go out there, Skip, and give it everything they possibly have. You told me on Sunday, Zeke quit on your football team because he said, I think Zeke said he hurt it, he felt, a little tinge in his quad, and he asked out. You said he quit. Well, Doug Peterson quit on his team. And I said yesterday, Skip, I don't know how he got up there in front of his team and said, you know what, guys, we gave it everything we could. No, you didn't. Because you're in position to win that game, Skip. You were only down 3 points. And the best chance for you to win, you took that out and said, well, I want to take a look at Nate Sudfeld. Now, supposedly, you're thinking about trading Carson Wentz for Nate Sudfeld or Jalen Hurts. Now, which guy do you think should have been receiving those reps in those situations? So I have no problem with Joe Judge said. Although he said it for selfish reasons. He said, look, you guys go out there and play, and if you play, you got, and that's my thing, Skip. I got no problem with that. He said at the beginning of the week, certain guys, you're not going to play, you're not going to play, you're not going to play. Everybody else is going to play. Give us your best effort. Because Jalen Hurts is giving you too good of an effort, Skip, you take the man out to ensure you're going to lose the game. That's where I have the problem with. If you want to sit, I believe Fletcher Cox was injured to begin with because he went out the Cowboys game.
He did.
Some of the other guys, Skip, if you said, okay, at the beginning of the week, Alshon and D-Jack and Miles Sanders and yada, yada, yada. You're not playing? Okay. But if Jalen Hurts had gotten hurt, Skip, that would be a different story. I got no problem with that. Jalen Hurts was not hurt. And it's being reported that some guys had to be refrained on the sideline.
Yeah.
The problem that I have with what Dougie Peterson did is that he lied. Now, if he had told the truth, the NFL would have had a big problem. A big problem with that. So he had to say, well, you know, I want to get Nate Sudfeld some reps. You want to get a 6th-round draft pick who's been on your roster for 4 years. If you thought he could play a lick, you wouldn't have drafted Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round. You know what he is. He's a journeyman at best. So Joe Judge is absolutely right, Skip. You don't ask more than you're willing to give. And Doug Peterson did not give his players the best effort, the effort that he asked them to give every day in practice, every day in meeting, and in every game. So I have no problem, although he's a terrible messenger, Joe Judge is, he's absolutely right with what he said about Doug Peterson.
Okay. I have a whole lot to say about this, and my final takeaway is different than your conclusion. Okay. Obviously, Joe Judge said exactly what his players and his fans wanted him to say yesterday. The truth is, Joe Judge said exactly what I wanted him to say as a Cowboy fan. I think all the Dallas Cowboys and Cowboy Nation sat back and said, way to go, Joe Judge. Because everybody thought that the NFL was tainted Sunday night by the loss of credibility that was displayed by Doug Peterson in Philadelphia in a game that was teetering. It should have been 17-all going to the 4th quarter when he didn't even take a chip shot field goal on 4th and goal from the 4-yard line against what many people consider the best defensive front in football. You just take the 3 and it's 17-all going to the 4th, right?
This is from Dougie P, who played for a tie. Okay. So now all of a sudden, you got chutzpah and you want to go for it.
Okay, I got it. I also want to make one quick point about Joe Judge. There's a biblical passage, I think it's Matthew 7, if my memory serves, 7:1, about judge not lest you be judged.
Right.
Because there's going to come a point, if he's as good as I think he is, where he's going to be thrust into one of those late season positions where, should I play my guys or not? Because this other team is teetering on the edge of the playoffs. Should I eliminate them by playing my guys? And obviously there comes a time when it's better for your football team not to play people. And it's better not to play to win and play as hard as you can in the final regular season game.
You're right, but here's the thing. The problem, Skip, if you're going to do that, let's just say Pittsburgh says, okay, we're not playing Big Ben. Mason Rudolph, you're up. They get within a field goal and they bench Mason Rudolph.
Yep, I agree.
That's the problem.
Okay. Now, back to a guy that in the past you have occasionally liked.
Yes.
You've called him Dougie P.
Yes.
I want everybody to understand that Doug Peterson won the Super Bowl with his backup quarterback, Nick Foles, and proceeded to write a book whose title was Fearless. You want to talk about audacity? You want to talk about you-know-whats? That's it right there in a nutshell, that one word of fearless.
Yes.
You come out of nowhere with your backup quarterback. You hang 41 on Bill Belichick's defense and outscore Tom Brady 41-33 in a Super Bowl game. You're suddenly a made man, and you say, I'm going to write a book whose title is I Am Fearless, and it's just going to say fearless, right?
Right.
Okay, so he prides himself on being the smartest guy in the room. He wants everybody to think that he sees things nobody else can see, that he's got genius about him.
Right.
And I can't criticize what he's done in Philly. He went 7-9 that first year when Dak and Zeke took over the division as rookies in 2016. Next year, 13-3 Super Bowl, right? Next year, even with Nick Foles coming back around again, they made a little playoff run. They won in Chicago, and they had New Orleans on the ropes until Alshon let a ball go right through his hands for an interception, right? And then, obviously, then 2018, they came alive late. They weren't a very good team, but Carson Wentz played, I thought, very well with some of his practice squad players, starting with Greg Ward Jr., and they did make the playoffs. Then, as you know, Carson Wentz got hurt like immediately and ended up throwing one pass, 1 out of 3 in a playoff game against Seattle, and they lost a home playoff game that nobody thought they were going to win in the first place. But he did make the playoffs 3 straight years, so I'm going to give him some credit there. Okay, here's my final takeaway after watching this unfold last night and sleeping on it. I believe that after I read this quote from Doug Peterson in his media session yesterday, I think he was playing to win because he reversed field yesterday and he contradicted what he said after the game, moments after the game.
Was he lying then or was he lying now?
I think he was telling the truth yesterday. He said, we were struggling just a little bit to move the ball. He thinks a whole lot. And defensively, they kept us, the Eagles kept us in the game with a couple of takeaways late, which they did. They almost had 3 takeaways late. And my plan was to get Nate in the game. So he's talking about how capable. He says, here's a guy who's very capable of running our system and executing. Okay, let's look at Nate Sudfeld, shall we?
Yeah, let's, please.
Who is he? He's 6 feet 6 inches tall. Who does that remind you of? Nick Foles, who sort of came out of nowhere. Now, he's a higher pick.
He was a second-round pick.
Was he a third round or a second round?
I think he was a second.
Okay. Nate Sudfeld was a 6th-round pick out of Indiana by way of Modesto, California. Hot high school recruit, very good high school player, because he's prototypical. He's 6 feet 6, 235 pounds, right?
Right.
And he was recruited by UCLA in Arizona, went to Indiana. I don't know exactly why, but he had a pretty good run at Indiana, was 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions his last year, got drafted in the 6th round, a la Tom Brady.
Right.
He was the 187th overall pick. Brady, as he always says, is 199, right? Okay, so I believe that Dougie P, fearless, believes that Sudfeld is a player. Because what was Dougie P as a player? What was Doug Peterson as a player?
He was a backup.
He was undrafted out of Louisiana Monroe, out of the state of Washington originally. He started 17 NFL games, but it was the hard way because he bounced all around.
Right.
He must have been cut 8 or 9 different times by various teams, starting with Miami.
He was with the Packers for
a long time. And then because Andy Reid took a liking to him as a player, Andy Reid in his first year in Philadelphia said, I want him, and signed him as a free agent and made him his starter. And that first year, he ended up starting 9 games. He went 2-7. And then he went to the Browns the year after Belichick got fired. Chris Palmer was the first-year head coach. And they tabbed him as their starter, and he went 1-7. So he bounced around the league, and he was just sort of a backup / occasional starting quarterback who
sees himself in Nate Sudfeld.
He sees himself. I'm just telling you, he sees himself.
Yes.
So he thinks this guy's got a pretty good arm. I couldn't even tell the other night because he had a QBR of 2.
Yeah.
I felt sorry for Nate Sudfeld because it's unfair to 2 quarterbacks at the same time because I'm the biggest Jalen Hurts fan you're going to find, and that's exactly the kind of game that he can win. Jalen Hurts can make one play with legs or arm that will win a game that's 17-all if it should have been going.
I'm not criticizing Nate Sudfeld. What's he supposed to say? Hell, no, I'm not going in there. Let him finish it up, Coach. He's going to go in.
So he goes in and blows up Dougie P's genius plan. I am the genius here because he can't execute. He stinks because he's not ready. Because I doubt he got many snaps in practice. And meanwhile, on the sidelines, there's all-out mutiny going on because Jason Kelce, who's a Pro Bowl center and the leader of that team, it was reported, he walked up to Doug Peterson on the sideline and said, could you please explain what you're doing? And I don't know what the answer was, but if I know Doug Peterson, he thinks he's smarter than any player right now, and that he just said, I'm doing what I think I should do here. I think that Nate gives us a better chance right now.
Yeah, he's talking about the offense has been struggling. Dougie, look around. For 17 weeks, your offense has been struggling. That's why you're in the position. That's why you made the quarterback switch, because you said your offense is struggling.
Okay. I just believe he really was trying to win. So I don't think Joe Judge got it exactly right, said the right thing for the wrong reason, because I think if you could get Doug Peterson to be hooked up to a lie detector right now, you would find out that he truly believed in his heart of hearts that Nate Sudfeld would go in and win the game throwing the football in ways. Look, I've never said Jalen Hurts was a great thrower of the football. You don't think he's a very good thrower of the football. I think he's good enough to be a starting and winning quarterback in the league.
You can't say I'm trying to win get in a position to win and then take the guy that gives you the best chance. Skip, that's what you said. You said you're making the switch to Jalen Hurts because of the spark he provides, and he gives you a chance to win.
Knowing what you know about Doug Peterson's background in this league, do you think he believes that Jalen Hurts is the style of quarterback he can win with?
No.
I say no. Again, I don't know how much input he had into drafting Jalen Hurts. Was that a Howie Roseman GM move?
Because the thing is, Greg, the reason why the Lamar Jackson works in Baltimore,
you got to buy in.
Greg Roman built a system for Colin Kaepernick.
Okay, you got it.
Doug Peterson has only played.
He's prototype. He's Nick Foles.
Thank you.
Can Nick Foles run? Not really.
No, he ain't really that style of offense.
No, but I mean, he doesn't move much at all.
Right.
He's straight drop back, throw it from the pocket quarterback.
Right.
So is Nate Sudfeld, 6'6", who has some credentials from college. He's just not. You know, again, he hasn't really gotten a chance. And so Doug Peterson sees himself in that kid, and he says, I'm going to light up the world right now. I'm going to show him Nate Sudfeld is a hidden gem for the Eagles.
Skip, the difference between Nick Foles and Nate Sudfeld, in Nick Foles' second year, he went 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
I got it.
But guess what? Even they didn't believe in him anymore, and that's what they do. They traded for Sam Bradford.
Right.
So for me,
and then once Nick Foles was out of that system, he goes to St. Louis to the Rams and stinks.
Yeah,
okay?
He stunk everywhere he's been except in that system.
But in that system, we both agreed he played some of the best playoff football at that position you will ever see.
You're right, Skip. Let's take that back. He still stinks in that system, just not in Philly, because Chicago, Matt Nagy runs the exact same system because he came from under Andy Reid, who Peterson came from under. So it's just in Philly. Skip, think about what Philly is. Philly is Rocky. Rocky never gives up.
Nope.
He get beat down by Clubber Lang, got beat by Drago. They've actually adopted that mentality that we don't give up, we don't quit. And Jason and Dougie P got up in front of his team and said, guys, we gave it everything we got. Yeah, no, we did. You didn't.
Agreed. So in the end, I believe Jalen Hurts would have won that game because I believe in Jalen Hurts, but I believe in his style of quarterback.
Yes.
I don't think that guy on the right side of that screen does believe in Jalen Hurts as his quarterback. So here's the irony of this. The painful irony for Eagles Nation is, reportedly, he has burned his bridge to Carson Wentz to the ground.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that Carson Wentz and agents putting out the story, we want out.
Right.
We want to be traded.
Carson Wentz did not speak to the media yesterday.
Okay. Thank you very much. Jalen Hurts, I believe the bridge between that guy and Jalen Hurts right now is on fire, just starting to burn to the ground. Now, Jalen Hurts is as coachable because he grew up as a coach's kid.
Right.
Houston.
Right.
Coached by his father in high school, and he was taught that you do what the coach says, but still, you could see Jalen Hurts on the bench, as hurt as he could be, and what was he mouthing?
This ain't right.
It ain't right. It ain't right because it wasn't right, and he knows it, and it's going to hurt his heart to the point where, as a young as you well know in this league, a young quarterback's psyche is so delicate.
It's everything.
You better be careful because if you yank him in a close game and you say, I think this guy throwing the ball gives us a little better chance because you couldn't make the pass on 4th and goal. You were short with the pass to Quez Watkins in the end zone,
Skip,
right?
Think about this, what he did. Normally what you do, Carson Wentz had been the backup. For the entirety of, once he got benched, he was the backup. You deactivated. That's what Ron Rivera did to Dwayne Haskins. He was so upset with his play, he deactivated. Said, you will not get on the field. Even if somebody get hurt, we're going to an emergency quarterback. So what Dougie P did was the equivalent of what Ron Rivera did. He said, we're going to deactivate you. We're not going to even give you a uniform.
That's what he did.
So now, you expect Carson Wentz to come back and play for you? I said it at the time that he did it. I don't know how you ever come back. Skip, if Carson Wentz was a rookie, I could see that. What they're doing with Tua is a rookie. He understands. But you can't do that with a 4th-year quarterback that's been a starter for as long as Wentz has been a starter. Bench him and think everything's going to be okay. That's not going to happen, Dougie. And you know that. And then you did what you did. Not only did you go with Jalen Hurts, Skip, he's like, we were struggling. Skip, Jalen Hurts was moving the ball. They were moving the ball if the guys could catch. If the guys could catch, I mean, if the guy that won the raffle to play, get an Eagles uniform and play receiver on Sunday, if he can hold on to the ball, if Jalen Reagor, first-round draft pick, I played with his father, Monte Reagor, if he can hold on to the ball, you'd have better situations. So you were making plays, and then you right there, Skip, on 4th and goal. The question is, in the regular season, do you believe if he was trying to win the game, you think he goes for it on that?
No.
What guy goes for it on 4th and goal in the third quarter? 4th and goal from the 4 or 5, not the half-yard line, the 4 or the 5-yard line.
And as you've said all year now, Washington's front is about as good as it gets, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you've got them pushed up against their goal line and you've shortened the end zone, so to speak, I don't love your chances of getting it home, right?
And plus the fact is, you talk about your offense was struggling. Their offense couldn't move the ball.
No.
Did you see what your defense was doing to Alex Smith?
And it was taking the ball away. It kept giving you chances.
Anytime they blitz him, Skip, the ball's going out of bounds. He's throwing the ball away because he can't get away.
Man.
And you did that. And Skip, you do realize, Dougie, although you're the coach, the players on your team, they're looking at them like, hell, we can't move the ball, but they can't move it either.
Yep. So in the end, this man, Doug Peterson, caught lightning in a champagne bottle, bottle, right?
Yes.
And won a Super Bowl with his backup quarterback.
Yeah.
It was almost like fate. The injury god said, let there be Doug Peterson, because Carson Wentz in a game out here at the Coliseum late in that year tore up his knee.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And here came Nicky Foles.
Right.
What?
Yep.
Nick Foles.
Nick Foles has never played like that in a 2-game stretch.
No.
And he will never, ever play like that again. We'll never see, Skip, what he did in that championship game, in that Super Bowl.
Yep.
You might have never seen it. Brady has played great in the championship game, but he didn't follow it up with it. Maybe, I don't even think he played because he played unbelievable against, the Deflategate, they said. He played unbelievable in the second half. He threw the ball up and down the field. But his game against the Legion of Boom, overall in its totality, that he played great in the fourth quarter, it wasn't like Nick Foles from start to finish. Nick Foles was throwing it from start to finish.
I agree. Championship game, Super Bowl, doesn't get any better than that. MVP over Tom Brady, obviously, in the Super Bowl. And Doug Peterson writes a book entitled Fearless. And Sunday night, Doug Peterson tried to show the world, I am a genius. Watch what I do. Watch this magic move I make.
Yes.
He had a QBR of 2. Thank you.
Skip, you don't
Game over.
Like you said, look, when you took Jalen Hurts, that was an indictment. You're like, oh, we always try to develop. That was an indictment on your starting quarterback, but it was also an indictment on your backup quarterback. Because if you thought the backup was adequate enough, you'd have never took Jalen Hurts. You'd have took another position of need.
Yep, I agree.
But Joe Judge is just the wrong messenger. Joe Judge was speaking out of frustration because my team would have gotten in had you beaten Washington.
No,
so I get what he said.
No.
He's right, but he's just the wrong messenger.
I got it. But I would like, as a Cowboy fan, to thank Joe Judge for what he said. Way to go.
You should
I
thank,
hear you.
You should thank Joe Judge for exposing your team also. Let them know what y'all need.
My own coach exposed my team.
You got a made man.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there. We don't even have time to get into it.
No mercy.
What's up, Undisputed listeners? It's your boy, Shay Sharp. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now back to Undisputed.
No mercy.
After beating the Eagles to clinch a playoff spot on Sunday night, Washington rookie pass rusher Chase Young was already looking forward to the wildcard matchup against the Bucs, shouting as he ran off the field, "Tom Brady, I'm coming. I want Tom." Well, Bruce Arians admitted yesterday he has a ton of respect for Young and the rest of the Washington defensive line. He offered some friendly trash talk of his own, saying, quote, "It's one of those games where you better watch what you wish for." Shannon, good idea or bad idea for Chase Young to call out Tom Brady?
Boy, the young. Skip, look, I don't have a problem because I was one of the most brash, outspoken guys when I played. But you need to understand your football team and what they're up against. when you put stuff out there like this here, now Chase Young, you better go have a Von Miller type Super Bowl game. Now you put that out there. Got no problem with it. Now you got to go back up what you're saying. Brian Billick used to tell us all the time, guys, I don't care what you say. But come Sunday night, we're going to need to back this rhetoric up. We're going to have to this bravado and this brash talking. Yep. You're going to have to back it up. Don't pull a disappearing act. Please, whatever you do not get shut out. Do not get blown out because you're going to look ridiculous. Now, you didn't have to say anything. Now, you're going to play the game regardless. But I want Tom, bro, I want you to understand, this is not Ohio State, and you're the dominant team and you're playing Michigan, or you're playing Michigan State. This is a whole different animal. These are pros. They're not in awe of you. They don't fear you. This is the NFL. Everybody was an All-American, was an All-Conference player at somewhere.
Yep.
Were great somewhere.
Yep.
So all I'm saying is, Chase Young, you need to understand, since you've spoken and you like, I want Tom, I'm coming, you need to come, and everybody remembers what Von Miller did in the Super Bowl to Cam. You need to have that kind of a game. You need to have that kind of an impact to back up what you're saying. Now, I'm going to be watching. I was planning on, what was I planning on doing? Watching the game anyway. But I'm going to be watching with a very, very close eye, Skip. I'm going to make sure I keep my eye on Chase Young and Donovan Smith, or Chase Young and Christian Worth. That's the matchup I'm going to watch.
That will boil down to one of those two.
So I'm going to see. Chase, please, you need to go out there and take this game over. You need to be Reggie White against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. You need to have one of those type games because, bro, you put it out there. I want Tom. I want Tom. Everybody always wants something until they actually get it, and then you realize, man, I don't want this. I don't want these kind of problems because that's a different animal.
Okay, as I always tell you on this show, there's one man in sports I would never bet against. And he now wears number 12 in what's that color? Pewter. Okay? There's one man whose cape I wouldn't tug on before a big game, especially a first playoff game. And that's that guy, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. And just for our younger viewers to remind them, there's a side of Brady, his alter ego, I call Psycho Tom. And you don't ever see it during the week, but occasionally during a game, it comes out where he just kind of loses it during he'll run down and headbutt Gronk after a big touchdown throw. And he'll also trash talk. He'll go back and forth with somebody on defense. If they want to talk, if they started, he'll try to finish. Right. Okay, I want to remind everybody of what happened in a game 2007. First year that Tom Brady had Randy Moss, and they got to 12-0, and here came the Pittsburgh Steelers to Foxborough. And there was a young man who was starting at free safety for Pittsburgh named Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith. He was only starting because my friend Ryan Clark had spleen surgery, so he was gone for the rest of the year. So Anthony Smith got elevated in the starting lineup, and he made the mistake before the game of talking about Tom Brady and the Patriots, saying, well, everybody says, how are we going to deal with them? And the question is, how are they going to deal with us? And then he went all the way to, he guaranteed that they would stop the unbeaten streak, 12-0 at Foxborough the coming Sunday. And what happened right away in that game? Well, Pittsburgh scored first on a field goal, and then here came Tom Brady. And if we could see what happened, Tom Brady first hit Randy Moss with a shorter touchdown pass of 4 yards, and ran into the end zone and got in Anthony Smith's face.
Look at James there. You know James go back his boy.
James come back. And then he came right back the next series and went bombs away to Randy Moss for 63 yards, victimizing one poor Anthony Smith.
Because he's supposed to be the whole safety.
Look at him. There you go. Goodbye. And Tom Brady got a great kick out of that. So that's how he responds to that kind of trash talk pregame. Right. Now, at that point, Tom Brady was a mere lad of 30 years of age because it was 13 years ago. So has he mellowed out some? I don't see Psycho Tom as much now as I used to see.
He got to conserve that energy, Skip.
Okay. Maybe. I don't see that often. But I do think he made note of this. Yet he also understands that Chase Young is literally young. Yeah. And the more I watch Chase Young, he's actually played better than I thought. He's had more impact than I thought he would from what I saw a year ago at Ohio State. obviously the number 2 overall pick, but they did make him a captain. And yet he's kid-like to me. He plays with youthful enthusiasm, right? You can see it's I don't want to go to childlike. It's kid-like.
Right.
He's like a big kid still, and it's all fun and games for him right now because they've had a great run into the playoffs, and yet he's dealing from a position of strength right now because how advantageous is it for an edge rusher to get dropped into a line that features Daron Payne was the 18th overall pick and Jonathan Allen was the 17th overall pick and Montez Sweat was the 26th overall pick.
And Kerrigan comes off the bench.
And Ryan Kerrigan comes off the bench once upon a time the 16th overall pick. He's one of your backups. And Bostic was a second-round pick, and that kid Holcomb, every time I look up, he's making a play.
He's a thumper.
He's a thumper, and he's a fifth-round pick, but he is playing like he's a second or first-round pick. My point is, how great is it for young Chase Young to be able to come off the edge where it's hard to double block him because you have to worry about 3-4 other guys, right?
Yes. And he's the type of, Skip, look, Chase Young is the type of, and if we go back and look at Tom Brady last 2 playoffs, Skip, if we look at the Super Bowl against the Rams, we look at the Titans.
Okay.
He didn't play particularly well.
Okay.
Now, the thing that's always given him problems.
You got it.
Is guys like a Chase Young, a defensive line like what Washington has.
Okay. So actually, Chase Young was speaking from a position that can have direct impact on the quarterback, right?
Direct.
It's one guy where you can't really victimize him as much as he can victimize you,
Correct.
right? You can't burn him with a 63-yard pass to Randy Moss,
right.
but he can get you on the ground.
Right.
He can do damage to Tom Brady in ways that what do you always preach from your side of the table? Knock him off his spot. Put any kind of heat on him. He's going to fold quickly.
Yes.
Well, he does. He is truly in self-preservation mode right now, right?
Oh, you better be.
Okay, you have to be at age 43.
Yeah.
So if they protect him, as you say, you better look out.
Oh, yeah, bad things are going to happen if they protect him. But the guys that's going to play a bigger role is the 2 inside guys. Because, Skip, the thing is that Brady will step up in the pocket. Now, he's not looking to escape. Now, he'll roll more towards right. We saw that Sunday when he rolled and hit AB. But those guys, Payne and Allen inside, to collapse the pocket when those edge guys force him up into the pocket, they need to be there. And that's what gave him problems when he faced Denver. They had Malik Jackson and Derek Wolfe, but they had Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware. So if you was too far deep, one of those edge rushers was going to get you. You step up, those big guys inside was going to bring you down. So Allen and Payne is going to play as key a role as Chase Young, but Chase Young's going to have to get off the rock. He's going to have his best game because he doesn't understand, Skip. And people say, well, you look at preseason, it's one tempo. You look at the regular season, it's another tempo.
Yep.
But once you hit the playoffs, it's the Indy 500.
Okay, I think it was not wise for him to say this. But I also think that spread has ballooned now on Fox Bet all the way up to 8.5. And I told you yesterday I would take these points as much as I want Brady and the Bucs. Okay, well,
No. I give you the points.
You think Brady and the Bucs are going to win this easily?
Yeah.
I cannot fathom it because of what you have preached from across the table. This is exactly the kind of defense he has a hard time against.
But also, Skip, this is the type of offense that Tampa's defense will destroy. Because you don't move the ball because the quarterback is not mobile enough to get out of harm's way.
Here's what I fear the most. Devin White is gone for this game.
Right.
He is their leading sacker because I don't know a linebacker who blitzes better than Devin White. He is the best I've seen in the whole game. In the NFL, nobody gets to the quarterback faster and more lethally than Devin White
He has tremendous timing to time it up to hit the gap on the dead run, and he's running. Oh, Skip, he ain't doing all that dancing with them running backs.
Okay.
He running slap over the top of them.
All right, so he tested positive for COVID. And now if he had had one more day, if they hadn't been placed on Saturday night, if they had been on Sunday night, he would have been allowed to play. He hasn't been out long enough protocol-wise, right?
The difference between he and Kamara.
That's
Kamara
correct.
gets a Sunday game, he got a Saturday game.
Thank you. So he's gone, and that's against Alex Smith. To me, that's a huge loss. On the other side of the ball, the best receiver on the Bucs, I don't care what anybody says, and they got a bunch of good ones, but the best one, the one that Tom goes to the most, is Mike Evans. Yeah. And we saw what he did to his knee, and he's now iffy. Right. And Bruce Arians went so far as to say yesterday, he's day-to-day. No structural damage because it hyperextended. Right. It went backwards because he slipped on the turf. Right. But it usually, when you hyperextend, as you know, it's usually better that way than going sideways.
Right. So it's more scared than anything because it buckles. Yeah. Your first day you think, oh, man, I done tore something.
Yeah. Will it be sore? Yes, it will. But will Mike Evans suck it up and play? He'll try because that kid has got big guts. Mm-hmm. But the point is, what if you don't have your best? What if it's just too sore to go? Right. Okay. Now you're down your best receiver and your best. You can argue your best defender. Right. I think he is. Of all that they got, that's the most valuable.
He's a complete player. They're not great in pass coverage, Skip. That's why they blitz him a lot. Yep. So we're going to make you block him because I don't want him trying to cover tight ends and running backs down the field, although occasionally he gets in there and deflects the football. Yep. But Todd Bowles has done a great job of finding what the guys do really well and playing to their strength. Now, he's going to compromise them on the back end because he believes Shaq Barrett, he believes JPP and Sue and those guys will get there before you have enough time to get it off. And you saw what happened against Kansas City. Well, when they didn't get there, it was bombs over Baghdad. Yep. I don't believe Alex Smith is going to have that kind of time. And Alex Smith doesn't have the leg in his current state that Patrick Mahomes has. So
your favorite website, Pro Football Focus, ranks the Washington defense third best in the league. They have the 6th most sacks. They're ranked 5th best as a pass rushing unit. Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be a long, hard night for Tom Brady.
The question is, can they coax turnovers out of Brady? Because I believe the Tampa defense can coax turnovers out of Alex Smith, and that's the difference, Skip. If to beat Tom Brady, you're going to have to score. Skip, you're not beating him 7-3. You're not beating him 10-7. Can they get to 17 points against that defense? Skip, it was a struggle to get to 17 against the depleted Eagles.
And he was turning the ball over.
Yes.
Yep. No, I hear you, but in the end, I still say, as much as I love the Bucs and Brady, and I still believe they're going to win the NFC, I think this is going to be a close game. Okay. And I would take the 8.5.
Okay, I'm looking forward to this game. Okay. And y'all know I love Chase Young. I love his confidence, but I also know Tom Brady loves some bulletin board material. And yes, he was listening loud and clear. It's going to be a good one. I want to transition to Paul George. You know, his struggles last season were well documented, especially in the bubble and postseason. But after Sunday's win over Phoenix, George was embracing the challenge of proving his doubters wrong, saying, quote, I had a tough year last year. People think it's sweet because I was down. I didn't hear none of this my 10 years in the league. I've got to answer that. I've got to be ready for that. And I'm ready to compete. I'm back. Shannon, how much should the Clippers trust Paul George going forward?
I don't know what the Clippers are going to do, but I'm telling you, I ain't trust him until I see the playoff. Now, he doesn't call himself regular season Pete. Did he call himself regular season Pete or he called himself playoff Pete? Because if you go back and look at his history over the last 5 years, you look at his last 2 years in Indy and see what happened. You look at his 2 years in OKC and see what happened. Look at last year at the Clippers and see what happened. Playoff Pete. Now we talk about regular season. We hyped about the regular season. You played good in the regular season last year. Your last year in OKC, Skip, he finished third in the MVP. But what did he do come playoff time? Russ out there balling out of his mind, got 44, 45. Paul George showed up with either I got 5 on you, Russ. Gave him 5 points. So that's what I need to see, Skip. But the credit to the thing that I love most about sports, Skip, is different than most jobs. And they say you should update your resume probably every 6 months to a year, maybe every 2 years. But in pro sports and basketball, 3 or 4 times a week, you can update your resume, Skip. And so thus far this year, he's updating his resume. But I need to see this guy. The guy that I'm seeing right now through the first 6 or 7 games, I need to see that guy come playoff time. And then me and Paul George will be able to sit down and have a conversation. Now, you can be mad about the media all you want to, but we not calling you a soft ass you know what. That's your peers. So you got to convince them. You got to convince me. I ain't nobody, Skip. I ain't never put on no gym shorts and got on the NBA court. Convince those guys, because those are the guys that's talking to you sideways. They ain't never say that about KD. They don't say that about Kobe. They don't say that about Bron. They say that about you. They might not like Bron. They might not like Kobe. They might not like Shaq and all those other guys. But they don't say no soft you know what. So you convincing me, you better go convince them guys that you going up against.
So, Pandemic P has become the easiest target in all of sports right now. He is subject to ridicule on the internet the way almost nobody is, because everybody's ready to pounce when he does anything wrong. See, it's playoff, as you called it, PEE, right? Okay, I know it's early. I know we're only 7 games in.
Yeah.
But I would like to remind everyone that the Los Angeles Clippers now lead the Western Conference. It's a 5-2 record, but the reason they lead is they're tied with the Lakers and Phoenix, and they have beaten the Lakers and Phoenix. I would like to remind everyone that if you did, for whatever reason, call off the rest of the season and vote for an MVP right now, I believe it would be Paul George, because I think the numbers are sensational, what he's done. Yeah. He has played unbelievably well so far, up against odds of trash talk and internet ridicule that are, they're brutal, they're devastating. And now, as he says, everywhere I turn, somebody's trash talking me on the court about you ain't you know what.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, did he bring that upon himself? Yes, he did last year. I got it. But he continues to say, you guys had me last year because I was coming off 2 shoulder surgeries.
Right.
And I started with a new running mate on a new team.
Right.
And so it was a struggle to stay on the court and to figure each other out.
Right.
Then they hit the bubble. And what happened to Paul George? Well, he openly admitted, man, I had trouble.
He was dealing with some things.
I struggled. I had depression.
Right.
I had anxiety. I didn't like it there. Right. I was incredibly unhappy. I needed some counseling. And he was very open-hearted about it. And the guys on TNT, the whole crew, they were all over him about it, because you can't show, they said, that kind of weakness in the bubble in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And to your point, when it was winning time, he was losing.
Right.
And Kawhi wasn't much better, but he was a little better. But obviously they put themselves in a power position, up 3-1 on Denver. And every night they were a 7 or 8 point favorite over the Denver Nuggets. And I keep saying they were a little higher favorite over the Nuggets than the Lakers were when they played the Nuggets. And yet they could not close with a 12-point lead and a 15-point lead and a 19-point lead. They could not close 3 straight games. And he was a culprit, certainly. Kawhi was, certainly in Game 7, he probably worse.
Kawhi was awful the other night, too.
Okay. But they are still 5-2. And if I look at these numbers, he has, I know it's early, but his PER is a career best 25. He's averaging a career best 25 points a game. He's shooting a career best 51% from the field, a career best 49% from 3. And by the way, he's made 33s. That leads the NBA so far. That'll work. Yeah. Obviously, he shot you guys out of the gym on opening night, right?
He was the sole reason that they won.
He scored 33 on opening night and made 5 out of 8 threes against the Lakers.
But let me ask you a question, Skip. How many games are we going to have like what he had against Dallas, where he scores 15, they go 0 for 6 from the three-point line and lose by 51? Okay. How many of those are we going to throw in there?
Yeah, no Kawhi that night.
But that's the time that, hold on. If you're not what they call you, that's when you show up and do dirt.
But
you
as he
do
said,
your work.
They had done their work because they had beaten the Lakers and they went to Denver and they throttled Denver on its home court.
What I tell you.
And by the way, Kawhi got hurt in that game, as you know, late. There was maybe 6 minutes left, and Paul George took them home. And he was really good in that game because he had 9 assists and 5 out of 9 from 3. Okay, that'll work. Right. And then he said they were given Christmas Day, the day after Christmas, when they went home, and they just took the afternoon. Remember, they had early tip, a 12:30 p.m. tip here, obviously, and they didn't show up. Okay, I'm going to give him that one because he's been so extraordinary. He came back against Portland, had 23, 10, and 7. And then at Phoenix the other night, he scored 39 and also had 2 steals and a block because he can defend at a high level.
Yeah, but Skip, in all your years of covering, you know how this works. Pro sports is predatory behavior.
It is.
We find the weak link. Yep. We find the weak link on who we believe is weak. Yep. Even in the All-Star game, what they say? We going at James Harden because we believe he's weak on the defensive end. Well, we going at Luka Doncic. What did Kyle Kuzma say? That's predatory behavior.
We pass the ball to whoever Luka was
covering. You find the weak link, Paul George. They believe you weak because, look, I'm not saying you weak, but that's the way it's being, that's what the players in the NBA, that's how they perceive you for opening up and being honest about what you were dealing with. Now, he seems to be in a good headspace. He got engaged this summer.
He did.
He seems to be very, very happy with where he is right now, and I'm happy for him. But all this regular season doesn't mean anything. You gave yourself the name Playoff P, not regular season P. So we need to see we need to see this guy right here in the playoffs. Then you can start to quell some of those voices by calling you soft and saying, oh, you're not what you think.
Okay, I got it. And I am with you on this. I just like where he's heading. I like his new body language. I like what he's saying in response. You guys had me last year, but I'm back now, and I'm happy now. I'm good.
Skip, you remember?
I'm healthy.
Skip, you remember how he came back last year, the first couple of games, either 35, 36 points? He was just lighting people up. In the playoffs, Skip, that's what you make it, Skip. The regular season, every great player, when you look at Magic, Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, it's all about the playoffs.
Okay, I got it. What have I always told you about that guy? Occasionally I've called him Paul George. It's George Paul, right? He is a complimentary superstar, but he is a star. And this team will go as far as Kawhi Leonard takes this team ultimately, but I believe that he will be there, and I think he is trustable in the playoffs as a complimentary star. Is he going to have an off night? Yes, he is. They all do. Everybody
of course.
Okay, but in the end, I believe he has enough star power to him that I would trust that this team can go all the way.
Yeah, of course, Skip. Anytime you have two guys, if one is off, the other have to bring up the load. If AD was off, Bron could bring the load up. If Bron is off, AD could do it. You look at the Nuggets. If Joe was having an off night, Murray go crazy. Murray having off, Yoke goes crazy. Well, when Kawhi was off, Paul wasn't to be found. So now, that's why people are like, hold on, bro. They gave up all this for you. That's what you're supposed to do. That's supposed to be your role now. It's like the lead actor goes down. This is your time. I've been waiting for this moment. This is my time. Action.
Okay.
He forgot his lines.
You know what? This is his time. This year is his time because he is a laughing stock right now.
Absolutely.
He's an internet laughing stock. So let's see if he can respond, and so far, so great.
Yeah, Paul he up there telling him, watch your mouth. He told Devin Booker, watch your mouth. Booker said, man, shut up.
Well, he told Chris Paul, I think he said something worse to Chris Paul. And Chris Paul backs down to nobody.
Paul done got his hair braided. Now, Paul, he was palm down. Paul say, look at bro. Y'all see what's on this dome? Y'all better back up. Get out of here.
All I care is just play.
Just
but
play.
we coming.
And we got a long way to go.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we can all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
No mercy.
After their Week 17 finales, the Jets, Jaguars, and Chargers all moved on from their current head coaches, creating a total of 6 openings when you add the Falcons, Texans, and Lions to the mix. However, according to a ranking by NFL.com, the LA and Jacksonville jobs are the most intriguing, in large part due to the quarterbacks. Justin Herbert with the Chargers and the projected first overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, with the Jags. So, Shannon, would you rather have the LA job with Justin Herbert or the Jacksonville job with Trevor Lawrence?
A lot of it's going to be dependent on who becomes the head coach, Skip. I was going back and forth, and I agree. I believe the Chargers job, because Justin Herbert was fabulous this year, Skip. The kid didn't start the first game and threw for over 4,300 yards, 30-plus touchdowns. He was magnificent. But, Skip, when you look at the Jags, not only do they have the first pick, they got $100 million in cap space in the state of Florida, which means no state income tax.
Agreed.
You could attract a lot of people with that. So California, I don't know. You and I know firsthand about California state tax. So let me see, 12, 13% or 0%? And the first-round draft picks that they got, not only do they have the number 1, they got the Rams pick for Jalen Ramsey.
Yep.
They get a pick for Ngakwe.
They do.
So they got, 11 picks? Mm-hmm. So they are primed to attract people to come. Look, all this notion, and I know Justin Fields played fabulous on Saturday, but Justin Fields doesn't have a hillbilly heartbeat chance of going number 1 overall. With that being said, I believe Jacksonville, with $100 million in cap space and the number 1 overall pick and the ability to no state income tax, Skip. Now, Justin Herbert, I've already seen his body of work in the NFL. He's fabulous. They got Joey Bosa. They got Keenan Allen. They got Hunter Henry. Now, what are they going to do with him because they franchised him last year? The Big Williams, Skip, they got some nice pieces offensively.
Do they?
The question is, Derwin James, he's a fabulous safety, Skip, but he can't stay healthy.
Yep.
He just can't stay healthy. So, right now, I'm going to say the Jags slightly because not because of the quarterback. They might get. I'm talking about the $100 million that they got in cap space and how they can build out this roster, Skip.
Yep.
You can get a lot of good pieces. And think about, Skip, the cap is not going to be 190 from what it was, and you got $100 million, Skip, you can get a lot of good players. There are going to be some guys that's going to be available that you're going to be able to get for pennies on the dollar and build out a roster to surround Trevor Lawrence. You got to make it of something really good, especially in Jacksonville. But that L.A. job, not a bad job to have.
Oh, it's a good one.
And the weather can't beat the weather.
So this is a really close call.
It is.
If I were a coaching candidate and I had an option, here's my gut feeling on Trevor Lawrence. I believe he's going to have a little better career than Justin Herbert. Just a little better. But I'm betting on the come. I don't know that. I only know what I've seen in college football. The difference is Trevor Lawrence at 6 feet 5 inches tall can really run. It's straight line running. It's not make you miss. There's no Michael Vick going on. But if you give him a crack, he can hurt you. He can run 40 yards, and I'll be curious to see if he times. But yeah, I bet he can run 4.6-ish in that ballpark. But that's for that 6'5", that's pretty fast.
And look at all the young quarterbacks, all the up and comers. What can they do? They all can move.
Yep.
They all can move. From Lamar to Kyler to Justin Herbert to Josh Allen. All the guys can move. Aaron Rodgers, the only guy that really doesn't do a whole lot of moving that's still picking you apart is Brady.
That guy. Okay, so neither of us loved Justin Herbert when he was at Oregon. I watched him a lot. I got to tell you, he lost his poise. He lost his way numerous times in what I considered pretty big Pac-12 games.
Yes.
And yet in his bowl game, he was very good.
Yes.
And in the All-Star game, he was very good. And he was way better than I thought. And I cannot argue with 31 touchdowns. And his coming out party for me was the day they jumped up 24-7 on Brady at Tampa.
Right.
They couldn't hold it, but he was throwing rockets all over the field. And I said, where did this come from? And it wasn't a blip. It was a trend.
You remember his first start against Kansas City? He had them on the rope. He made one mistake, rolling to his left, throws back across his body, gets picked in the end zone.
Didn't even know he was going to start until right at kickoff.
And then he goes to New Orleans and do basically the same thing. He's up 17 on them.
They were actually too good for their own good. They could have won a couple of more games, but they went 7-9 and cost themselves whatever draft pick. They
were up by like 20 on Denver and ended up losing that game.
They ended up losing that game. So I hear you about L.A. What I'm torn about is they have established star. Keenan Allen is a flat-out star.
Yes.
Derwin James can be a star if he
can stay healthy.
And Joey Bosa, if he could stay healthy.
Yes.
I think he's only played 16 twice in his career.
Right.
And my man Casey Hayward, cornerback from Vanderbilt University, he's really good. They have pieces that are Pro Bowl pieces, right?
Yes.
And that kid, Kenneth Murray, they took out of Oklahoma.
Right.
He can play, but he could play at Oklahoma. He's a tackling machine. So I look at Hunter Henry. He's going to be a free agent, but they have plenty of room to re-sign him.
Yes.
And obviously Mike Williams and Jalen Guyton. There are pieces in place.
Eckler.
Okay, Eckler can play. It's Los Angeles. I know they're the equivalent of the Clippers. They're the second team in L.A., but they get to play in that same beautiful billion. How many billion? Is it?
Like 3.5, 4
billion. Okay, it's beautiful, and it's in Los Angeles. It's in this weather, and I think you can attract free agents here, even though you got the state tax. Jacksonville also has some young pieces that are they're mildly intriguing to me because when I look at what they have.
The Robinson kid can run the running back.
He can run.
Yes.
He can run. Every time I looked up, he was doing something. I'd say, wow, he's not bad. James Robinson. Caleb Von Chason, I wanted the Cowboys to take him if, in fact, CD didn't fall in their laps at 17.
Right.
So I think he can play. That C.J. Henderson that they drafted, he can play. Laviska Shenault can play. DJ Chark can play.
Yes.
Okay, so there's some younger, less proven. Miles Jack is a proven piece. And the other Josh Allen plays linebacker there who's pretty good.
Right.
Well, it was just 2017. They were at Foxborough in the AFC Championship game. So you would think, okay, if you give me Trevor Lawrence, now you got to trust that he's going to be at least what Justin Herbert is, if not a little better. So I go back and forth. So in the end, because I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a little better career, I would do Jacksonville. And again, your point about the no state tax with the most cap money in football.
$100 million.
And they have the Rams first rounder, as you said, and they have Minnesota's first rounder in 2020. In this
this draft.
In this draft.
Yes.
And they got an extra fourth and an extra fifth. Well, if you got the right brains of the operation in there and you get the right man for the job, they're going to be back in the
mix.
You
hit on 2 of the 3 first rounders now. If Trevor Lawrence is what many believe that he is, he's going number 1. You got him. You got him in the bag. Now, with your pick or Minnesota, do you package that, Skip, and move up? There's somebody else that you really like? Because if there's somebody else you could like, you could package those 2 first rounders and come back up and get somebody.
Yeah.
You got the pieces. They got the capital.
So which of those 2 teams has the most fervid fan base? Well, Jacksonville has never supported that team the way Green Bay supports its team as a small market team, right?
No.
And yet in L.A., you are definitely the stepchild, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
As the Chargers, because you're the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, you got to win here in L.A.
Yep.
It's too much to do. I know we shut down now, but it's too many patios that you can go eat on. You got the beach, you got Manhattan Beach, you got Venice Beach. You got too much going on for you not to win and think people going to come see you play.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
And too many people grew up here as Rams fans, so their heart's always going to be with the establishment, right? The Rams.
Yes.
So I don't know that fan-wise, it's like a push. That neither is great.
And in Jacksonville, Skip, you happen to be, you in college country. Yeah, I mean, you got Gainesville right down the street. You got, so...
Well, what they used to call the world's biggest cocktail party is played in your, right under your nose.
Right. So...
and remember, they were scheduled, because they don't draw well at home, they were scheduled to play 2 games, if not for COVID, this year in London.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
2 games? Well, they're just showing you they're sort of going to become a split city team.
I mean, Skip, they used to attract, when they had Mark Brunell and Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell and Nate Trummy, they had a nice little fan base then, but then all of a sudden, they started bringing out the tarp and covering up a lot of it. But Skip, with that kind of money, if you get that guy, and that guy's what you believe he is, and what you can attract to build around him, you can build a nice house.
Yep. I'm with you. I would slightly choose the Jags over the Chargers.
We finally agree on something.
Finally.
Should we also move
and I just
the
wish
show?
I had that opportunity. I could coach that team.
Oh, you coach it?
I could coach Trevor Lawrence.
How about we move the show to Florida? We all save some money on tax purposes. And then it's just, we'd be living large, right?
Ferrari, here I come.
I feel like you'd have that either way, though, Shannon. Okay, all right. Well, either way, it's going to be interesting to see where those teams go in terms of coaches. So right now we wait.
No mercy.
Well, after an offseason where Kyrie Irving bragged about finally having a teammate that he trusted to take a clutch shot with the game on the line, he and Kevin Durant both had their chance against the Wizards on Sunday night. However, both stars missed potential game-winning shots in the closing seconds, and the Nets dropped under 500 for the first time this season. So, Shannon, what was your reaction to Kyrie and KD missing these last-second shots?
I'm like, what? Now, this is what Kyrie said. Now, I had a little meme, and there have been a lot of players that's been to jump on my little timeline about my meme. But this is what Kyrie said. Kyrie said, this is the first time in my career I can look down there and be like, that mofo can make the shot, too. That's what he said. That's what Kyrie said.
That.
That's what he said. And I wasn't talking about LeBron. Bro, you played with LeBron for 3 years. Went to 3 finals all 3 years. Saw him make clutch shot, game-winning shots. So I'm not surprised, Skip, this notion. And like I said, you perpetuated this. You've peddled this for the longest time, that LeBron James is not clutch. But this is what we did. When taking a tying or go-ahead shot, when trailing in the final 10 seconds of their careers, I want to repeat this, make sure I'm reading this correctly. When taking a tying or go-ahead shot, when trailing in the final 10 seconds of their careers, Kyrie Irving is 25%, Kevin Durant is 26%, LeBron James is 28%. This notion that you have perpetuated and somehow convinced the mass public that LeBron James is unclutch and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant is more clutch, it's just not true based on the numbers. Men will lie. Women will lie. Even kids sometimes will lie to get what they want. You can't lie on these numbers. It is what it is. LeBron James has made more game-winning or game-tying shots in his career than Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
But he's also played way, 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 way longer than either.
So his percentage should be lower. Since
he has missed the most late shots of anybody ever.
But let that sink in. But he got a higher percentage. So he can't be that bad if his percentage, you taking less, but your percentage is lower than me and I've taken more. Shouldn't it be the other way around? But I just want to know one thing. Had the situation been Anthony Davis takes that shot, LeBron James gets the rebound and takes a 12-footer, you said the greatest mid-range shooter in the history of the game. If LeBron James had clanked that very shot, what would you have said?
Well, at what point in his career?
I just called on time. Kevin Durant is in year 14.
Has he ever played with Kyrie before?
Who you playing with when you shoot Skip? When I'm catching the pass, I ain't like, you know what, John Elway's not throwing me this pass, let me drop it. Oh, this guy not throwing me this pass, let me drop it.
Okay, that's different. You're just reacting. He has to make the call to throw you the ball.
No.
You don't have to make the call
Kyrie, ain't nobody throw Kyrie the ball. Kyrie, they brought it, Kyrie had the ball, he danced with it, pulled up with a 3. Kevin Durant got the ball, ain't nobody passing the ball. Kevin Durant got the rebound, and he's shooting from 12 feet. This ain't about no offense. This is not about running a set. You got the ball from 12 feet. I just ask you a simple question. In year 14, if LeBron James missed that very shot, what would you have said?
I would say what I've always said about him, no clutch gene.
So KD got no clutch gene?
All I know is I watched Kyrie Irving in a Game 7 at Oracle against the Warriors win LeBron a ring by making a last shot that won the game.
So we're not going to do it. So we're not going to do anything about that 8-0 run that LeBron went on by himself when they were down. We're not going to do anything about that in the fourth quarter.
He's really good at that, but Kyrie is really good at that.
What about that block?
Okay, why did Kyrie say what he said? The quote that you read.
Kyrie said the earth is flat.
Okay, the point was, what he didn't say in that quote spoke volumes with high volume because he did not mention LeBron. You would have thought he would say, other than LeBron, to end the quote.
Right.
No, but he didn't say that. He left him out because he does not believe LeBron is a last shot taker-maker.
Just because you don't believe it doesn't make it true.
Okay, I'm just telling you, he knew what... Kyrie is not anybody's fool about this. He's a smart young man. I know he's got some wacky theories, but he's got depth to him.
Yes.
He has high IQ. He has high intellect, and he knew exactly what he was saying. It's the first time in my career where I got to look around and say, wait a second, that guy can make that shot just the way I can make that shot.
My thing is, and people thought I was taking a shot. I'm not taking, I understand. Nobody, Skip, if you take those kind of shots and you make 30%, you were all world. This notion that people make 50 and 60% of game tying and game winning shots.
Nobody does.
Nobody
Jordan
does.
Didn't.
So people thought I was taking a shot at K. All I'm saying is what Kyrie said.
Okay.
Is that they can make those shots. Okay, that was your time. Had LeBron missed that shot, I don't know how many guys
obviously, Kevin Durant's first go-around with the Warriors.
Yes.
After he joined forces with the team he had down 3-1 in Oklahoma City. In Game 3, in the Kings Palace up in Cleveland, Kevin Durant made the shot of shots. He shot a 3 right in LeBron, like he just walked right into a 3 right in LeBron's grill and made it, and it won the game. It flipped the game, okay? So that's when I sat back and said, wow, That's a big-time shot.
He made 2, and he followed up even though they were ahead the next year, he made another big shot. But, Skip, you're talking about 2 shots. How many of those has he taken?
Okay.
That's when LeBron make that game win against Orlando or the Chicago or Indiana or Toronto, nobody mentioned that.
Okay, now, Kevin, Kyrie are thrown together. They're playing together for the first time as Brooklyn Nets. And I will give you this. They have been a disappointment so far after a sensational 2-0 start. Now they're playing high-level defense. They're playing detonating defense to start with.
Yes.
All of a sudden, they started resting on their laurels, and they're not playing with the passion on defense that they used to. So they have fallen to 3 and 4 because they've lost 4 out of 5.
You told me that you call him Antony because there was no D in his name.
He's the assistant coach.
And what did they?
And Steve Nash is
his prodigy.
It was his guy.
Yeah.
All right.
What did he always preach? They're gonna outscore everybody. That's what he had. That's what he tried to do in Phoenix. That's what he tried to do in Houston. Everywhere he's been, he's always tried to outscore.
Okay, I got it. So, first-year head coach, first-time ever head coach, Steve Nash, not known for playing defense, continues to say, I want them to figure it out. Well, what did Kyrie say just a few weeks back? He said, we don't really need a coach, right? Okay, so Steve Nash is kind of going with the flow like, I'm going to stay out of the way here. I'm going to let them slowly but surely figure it out. See if they get thrown into these last-second shot situations and see if they can figure out how to play off each other. Well, right now, and I watch every Nets game, in the closing situations, they're looking at each other like, are you going to do this or am I going to do this? Which is not the way. You need to have a plan. You need to have something that will work, that you can fall back on if they double one or don't double the other. You need to know where to go. So
think about what you saw in Golden State. Every big shot that needed to be made, who had the ball in their hands? Steph Curry on that team was a 2-time league MVP, Skip.
No, I agree.
Kevin Durant took those big shots
every
in those
time,
finals.
but it was because Steve Kerr put his foot down and said, we are going to run plays for Kevin in that situation.
Steve Nash needs to stop trying to be like Phil Jackson. Everybody want to be Phil. Let him figure it out. Scottie and Michael will figure it out. Shaq and Kobe will figure it out.
I agree.
Bruh, call a timeout.
All right, so what happened in this last sequence? Let's look at it one more time. So Kyrie dribbles it up, and he dances, and he creates a shot.
He got a good look.
And it was a clean look. You know, like he danced and got a look, and he back irons it. And then TLC goes up and back taps, shocking Kevin Durant, who's completely caught off guard because he thinks the game is over once Kyrie back irons it. He is not ready to shoot this shot, but it gets tapped right back to him. And he shoots an awkward leaning sideways jumper that he wasn't ready to create. He did not have it in his mind. He thought the game was over.
I remember LeBron took one of those shots, and it hit the back rim. You like, LeBron, you hit the back rim, so what happened to the front of the rim?
When has LeBron ever taken a mid-range jump shot in his life?
Don't do that, Skip.
I mean, he takes those fallaways, but...
And make them.
Yeah.
And make them.
Because he's like Mike. Like Mike.
You see them threes? How many game-winning threes has Mike hit in his career? In 15 years, how many? Do I need to tell you how many of my guys hit?
Who you want with the ball in his hands late in the clock? I think I'll take Jordan.
You see what you've done?
Well,
even though LeBron has a better percentage making those shots, you still want Jordan to have the ball.
What happened at Utah in Game 6 to close out his real career? What happened?
That's no real career.
He just said, I'm going to go steal it in the corner from Karl Malone. I'm going to dribble it all the way up. Pippen's going to be over on the wing saying, I'm open. And he's going to go, no, I got this.
I just want to know one
Brian
thing.
Russell, he's going to push off a little bit. He's going to go up and he's going to hold the pose at the free throw line. He's going to hold the pose and swish it to end it.
So that was his real career.
Yep.
Had Michael won a championship with the Wizards, would we have given him 7 rings, or would we just kept him at 6 because his real career ended when he was in Chicago?
He was obviously never going to win a championship with a team that was below 500.
He to go.
He was drinking wine and smoking cigars, a la the phony goat right now.
Look at what my guy took to the championship his last year. His first championship in his last year, his first championship he went to in Cleveland, and the last one. Look what he took. That was the exact equivalent of what Michael Jordan had.
These are called growing pains for Kevin and Kyrie, just the way LeBron had growing pains in his first year in L.A. Do you remember that?
No. I need him. No, the growing pains were AD Because, so who was AD? Now, B.I. is playing unbelievable.
Wait. You tell me LeBron's the GOAT. Could we see that tape of what happened that first year?
No!
Yes! No! We got to see it. Look at this. Watch this. He threw it off the back of the backboard on an inbounds pass. Look, Kuzma has to push him out to cover somebody at the three-point line. What? Then LeBron, he's going to...
You buddy.
Pick it up. Pick it up. LeBron, you got to pick it up. Pick up the basketball. LeBron, pick it up, and he kicked it out of bounds. What? And then, remember this? Look. This is the last second shot at Madison Square Garden. Hazonia blocks his shot.
It's growing.
Well,
his groin was hurt.
Oh, it's groin pains, not growing pains. It's groin pains.
You know the man was like 2 or 3 games back after his growing. And that's all you got to, but I just want to know.
Growing or groin pains, whichever way you want to look at it, that's what Kevin and Kyrie are going through. We're 7 games in.
No, Skip. Ain't no growing pains when you're shooting the basketball. The growing pains, okay, getting up, Skip. Kyrie had the ball. The shot that he missed was easier than the one that he made over, I think it was Clay. He hit that step back 3 on.
Okay.
Back ironed it. Okay, then KD gets the ball. Let LeBron James be 12 foot. And not even hit the front of the rim, hit the back iron of the rim, the other side of the rim.
Yep,
you would have killed him.
Kevin's shot had no chance of going in. It was off target all the way. Didn't even have a chance. I give you that. He wasn't ready to shoot it.
Kevin Durant not ready to shoot?
Nope, he wasn't ready to shoot it.
Now I want you to keep that same energy. With LeBron James, and I come in here and I'm gonna say LeBron wasn't ready to shoot. You're not gonna hit. You're not gonna be that great.
I never said that Kevin Durant was the GOAT. You said LeBron is the GOAT. You've been saying that for 4 years.
What did the numbers say? Last second shots and buzzer beaters. That's what the numbers say.
The numbers say 3 and 6 in the final.
No, hello. So did we just win 2020? Did we just win that?
You got a bubble-licious championship. Bubble gum.
No.
Hold on. You just told me. Now, you've been saying for almost 5 years that we've been on the air, LeBron James is the most mentally weak superstar that you've ever seen.
Yep.
But it took mental toughness. It cracked just about every other player in the bubble. Great superstar player,
including
except GOAT.
Pandemic P. He cracked.
But what about my guy?
Yep. He was the last man standing in the bubble.
The most mentally fragile guy that you said he didn't crack.
No, he didn't crack. I give you that. But that's off the court. This is on the court.
The bubble was on the court.
He cracked in game 2 against Denver because they called the last second shot for him. And he stood there and Rondo said, I locked eyes with LeBron and he did not move.
What happened?
And AD saved it.
Let me ask you a question. What about game 5? Did we lock eyes?
Game 5 of the finals?
No, game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. What did he tell Chris Haynes? I'm into this ish tonight.
Yeah. Then it was game 5 of the finals when he had the last shot and he kicked it back to Danny Green.
Oh, then what happened game 6? Jimmy Butler had a career night. Was on fumes the next day. My guy was still going strong. Diesel.
Yeah.
I just can't
rolling like a truck on Red Bull.
For real again. Somehow we had that available. Skip. I don't know where you get that footage.
You dirty ass it. I know. Skip put you up.
Where we got that footage. I thought we retired it. I thought that was something we've moved
hey, dirty.
on.
He keep that.
Way.
It's 2021.
I'm gonna find it, Jenny. I'm gonna find that tape.
Seriously.
No mercy.
Well, we're now almost 2 days removed from the Cowboys' season-ending 23-19 loss to the Giants, a game that was indicative of a lot of Dallas's problems throughout the year. The defense put the team in an early hole. Mike McCarthy had another questionable coaching decision, and backup Andy Dalton was unable to play up to the standard set by Dak Prescott. With the loss, Dallas finished the year at 6-10 and will pick 10th overall in the upcoming NFL draft. Fox Sports NFL analyst and Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson joins us now. Eric, it is great to see you, and I see you smiling. What was the biggest reason the Cowboys won 6-10?
Well, let me ask you a question. Why are we talking about them? Who they play Saturday?
We are still talking about them.
Home. They played at home with me, watching on television. I'll start with this, Jenny. When the season started, I told a buddy of mine, he's a big Browns fan. I said, y'all made a hire. That was a great hire. I said, you hired Bill Callahan. I said, I guarantee you this year you'll go to the playoffs and at least win 10 games. And I think let's start with that with the Cowboys. The Cowboys, they have an investment in Zeke and Dak. And to me, they're not protecting that investment. I think if they would have hired Bill Callahan, I really believe they'd be in the playoffs. I mean, I think you just saw Dak. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott looked more like Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara. When they lost Dak, they lost a lot in that football team. When you build a football team, you start with two areas. You start with the offensive line or the defensive line. Now, I know a lot of people think that's, you start with your superstar, but that's why you start your football team. And if you have a guy like a Bill Callahan, which actually is like a head coach, he really is. I mean, when you talk to people, I talk to people at the Browns, it says he's like having a head coach, head coach with Bill Callahan now, with the head coach. They believe in the analytics. He's done a great job running the football. I really believe that the Dallas Cowboys, they want to be successful again. They have to go back to being the Dallas Cowboys, running the football first. Because Dak is playing, he's playing good. He's playing great, actually. But you have to set the tone by running the football. They have too many holes on their defense. And for me, Mike McCarthy was a safe hire. I don't think he was the best hire for the Dallas Cowboys. To me, Urban Meyer was there one day, and I asked him, I said, wow, Urban, why don't you take that Dallas job? And he said, nah, I'm not. And I really believe that would have been the best hire for them if Jerry Jones would give up some of the power and gave it to Urban Meyer. I think the Dallas Cowboys would be in the playoffs right now.
Man, you got a better chance of Jesus knocking on your front door and saying, you going to hell, and then Jerry Jones giving up any power, Skip Bayless, because you've been around it for 30 years, and that's not happening.
Never, ever.
The reason why the Cowboys went 6-10, they're a bad football team. Jerry built this team around superstars. And far too many times in big games, his superstar, Zeke Elliott, his superstar, Amari Cooper, DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, they did not come up big for him. A lot of his superstars, Ed, you talk about the offensive line, but Tyron Smith is getting old. Skip, every year, the injuries are starting to come with greater frequency, and they're pushing him out. At first, they keep him out of game, and then it went to 5 games. Now it's an entire season. You see Zach Martin, the injuries, that's a lot of collision. When you run the ball and you're as physical as Dallas were when these guys got into the league, that takes its toll on you at some point in time. Zeke.
Both of them, by the way, those two linemen have turned 30.
30, yes.
So is that too old, or can you push it another couple of years?
Well, Skip, the thing is that the physicality in which they had to run the ball for DeMarco Murray and for Zeke, it's not like they pass blocking. They were thudding it down the ED. So for me, when I look at this, the coaches will always get the blame. But let me ask you a question. Amari Cooper makes $20 million a year. Does anybody believe Amari Cooper played like a $20 million receiver?
But I told you, damned if you do or don't, because Washington was poised to sign him.
Well, that's what. Well, it's damned if you do, if you don't with Dak. But you say you glad Jerry didn't do that. But you glad.
Well, I look at Wentz and Goff right now.
But you say
we got the Rambassador. Does he love his quarterback?
But you told me Dak is better than both of them. So you should do that contract without batting an eye. So my thing, and plus now going forward, Skip, you got Wolf Hunt on the 5th-year option for 2022. I just think the expectations in Dallas, because they're the Cowboys, they're too high. Skip, since 1997, the Cowboys have 3 playoff wins. Only 5 teams have fewer. Washington, the Lions, the Browns, the Bengals, and the Bills. Let that sink in. The Cowboys are the Cowboys in name only. That's it, Skip. I mean, they're in there with the Lions, the Browns, the Bills, the Bengals, and Washington. That's the group that they're in there with playoffs. I thought that's how we judge good teams. We talk about them like they're the Patriots. The Patriots not making the playoffs. We can point to one thing. We can say, okay, Tom Brady. Maybe that was the sole reason they lost. But the Cowboys, they bad. They've been bad. Edie, I won 5 games of do-off, Skip, too, because I told him we weren't going to make the playoffs. Even with a 7 spot, an extra seed, you got an extra playoff team, Skip, and you couldn't make it.
You won 5 cases because of Mike McCarthy and then Doug Peterson. If those 2 things don't happen, I win 5 cases because my team suddenly, inexplicably got hot at the end of the year. My team dominated the Giants in the second half until my first-year coach, once a made man in Green Bay, but that was 10 years ago, long time ago, until 8 minutes left in the game, there was a catch that obviously wasn't a catch. You could see it after one replay up on the big screen. And my new head coach, who I don't know what he does, he's in name only, I guess, he just had his hands in his pockets looking up at the big screen there at the Meadowlands.
It was cold.
And he didn't pull the red flag out and throw it. If he throws it, we win. Because if he throws it, all of a sudden a 50-yard field goal becomes a 60-yard field goal, and they don't even try it in the swirling winds of the Meadowlands. What's at MetLife Stadium?
Yeah.
And they punt, and here comes Andy Dalton, who actually had caught fire in the second half the way he had down the stretch of the end of the regular season, and I believe we would have won that game. Of course, Doug Peterson would have yanked the rug out from under us on Sunday night by putting Nate Sudfeld in the game in the fourth quarter, but that's a whole nother issue. So now, it's probably too soon for me to be talking about this because I haven't recovered from Mike McCarthy on Sunday. But, Eric, you being what I think is the greatest running back in the history of this game, I'm going to running back here because my biggest disappointment for this season, after I lost my starting quarterback in the first Giants game, when the wheels were already starting to come off, even with Dak at quarterback, when they had stolen a game against Atlanta that they trailed 29-10 at halftime, you could already see the defense it was going from bad to worst, and it was on track to be the worst defense ever against the run. And you could see it early on. Mm-hmm. Jerry had signed 8 free agents, and he cut all 8 of them because they were ready to mutiny against the new coordinator, Mike Nolan. Mm-hmm. And he cut them all, and suddenly the guys who were left said, let's try to figure this thing out. And they started to play at least credible defense down the stretch. But now back to my man Zeke. I'm sorry, Eric. I couldn't see him anymore. It was his time to shine. It was his time to just take games over, albeit behind some backups in the offensive line. But I needed to see 2016 or 2017 Zeke, and he doesn't exist anymore. I'm sorry, he's lost his burst. He hasn't lost his heart or his will, but he does have a new, really dangerous habit of if he feels a tweak, he just waves out. And he waved out in the first half after they got it 1st and 10 down at the Giants 16. And it just takes the heart right out of my team. So he runs hard on short yardage situations. He'll run through a brick wall. But if you give him something to work with, he can't work with it anymore. Give him half a hole, he can't take advantage of it. So the Zeke that I saw average 109 yards a game in his rookie year, all of a sudden, he's just plunging. He averaged 65 yards a game this year, and it hurt us because I'm telling you, say everybody fears. Nobody fears him anymore. He can't punish you anymore. He can't take over games anymore.
Nobody fears the Cowboys.
Okay, but again, you start with that guy, and if he's the best player on the team, and I think you guys would agree, going into the year without Dak, he'd be the best player on the team by far. Highest paid running back in pro football. He can't live up to that anymore. And so Jerry overpaid for Zeke and for Amari and for DeMarcus Lawrence and for Jalen Smith. Right. Way overpaid for all of them because none of them lived up.
And then you just mentioned the free agents. He cut 7 of them. He traded the other one.
He did.
So that was a disaster.
Got rid of them.
So
it was.
So you going to give any blame to Jerry?
Yes, I'm going to give all the blame to Jerry. Okay. I can't blame him for the offensive line just crumbling and falling completely. The Travis Frederick,
right.
How do you blame anybody for that? He's got a syndrome, and he just says, I got to stop. Right. I got to quit.
Right.
Well, again, if they had stayed healthy all year, we would have won the division.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, we would have.
No, you
would have been easy.
You was healthy all last year.
Oh, stop it.
And
so Skip. So
go, Eric.
What's your question? Your question is basically you think Zeke has lost a step or two. Well, look, first of all, Zeke's been in the league five years.
Yeah.
And look, you're never the same back as when you first came to the league.
No.
Zeke still has it. Like I told you before, and I really believe this. I said, if y'all would have hired a guy like Bill Callahan, I think you'd have saw a difference, even the backup players, because one thing you don't understand is an offensive line coach, a guy that knows how to coach offensive linemen. And the running game is just like the passing game. You've got to know what you're doing. You just don't hand the ball off and say, hey, it may be a hole over here, and you got to try to get through it. What's a little crack over here, you got to get through it. The thing about the running game, it gets into a rhythm. It's a rhythm. You start getting into that rhythm. And the Cowboys never got to that rhythm. They always had somebody hurt. But then Dak got hurt. It was always something with that football team. And so when you have a strong offensive line or offensive line coach, like I go back to when I was with the Rams, you had Hudson Houtt. Hudson Houtt made the biggest with our offensive line.
Yeah.
And I say this because a lot of people, they don't know who offensive line coach is. They don't even know who the offensive linemen are because, there's a bunch of big guys. But those guys up front, they make it go. They make it happen. They make it. If you have a great quarterback, let's take Tom Brady, the GOAT. You take Tom Brady. if you don't give him any receivers or they dropping the balls, he hits them in the hands, but they're still considered drops. Well, he's not having a great year. So it's not all on Zeke. Some of it is, but you have to give your running back a chance, because you said it. If he's the best guy on that team, the best player on that football team, the guys on the other side of the ball, they're pros too. They know he's the best guy on that team. What are we going to do? We're going to take away your best weapon. And that best weapon right now without Dak Prescott is Ezekiel Elliott. It's not your receivers. It's not your tight end. It's not your defense for sure. It's Ezekiel Elliott. We shut him down. We make him mute, and we win this football game. And that's what's happened to the Cowboys. And their defense was really weak.
Okay. To your points. Hudson Houck then came from the Rams to the Cowboys and was the offensive line coach in the dynasty years in the 90s.
He was, right.
And remember, Bill Callahan did a stint in Dallas when they were rolling with DeMarco Murray and those years. I'm not sure exactly which years it was, but he did it. Then Jerry fired him. I don't know why, but he fired him. I think he wanted more money. Right. I have no idea. I was with Bill Callahan when he was the first-year head coach in Oakland, and Rich Gannon was the NFL MVP because of the offensive line and the short passing game to Tim Brown and Jerry Rice.
Yeah, and that's what the offensive line, because I was with Alex Gibb.
Yep. Oh, he was all-time.
Skip, look at the running backs in the West Coast system. It doesn't matter. The starter goes down. Look at what they do in San Francisco. Look at what they do in Minnesota. Look at what they do in Cleveland.
Hey, what did Dante Scarnecchia do for Tom Brady in New England?
Yes.
Okay, to Eric's point, that's a crucial position on your staff.
And people don't realize it until the running back can't go anywhere, the quarterback getting hit in the back of his head. And then you realize, hold on. Because you see what happened with Tom Brady. He went to Denver. He couldn't get the ball off. He comes back the next year, they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but you know what? My new head coach can smash a watermelon on Saturday night at the hotel. And boy, it's something. Nobody ever smashed a watermelon better than Mike McCarthy. Ever.
When he got it, we got us a made. You ought to saw him the next day when they signed Mike McCarthy. He come out here dancing. We got a made man. We got the guy that made Aaron Rodgers.
Maybe it was the other way around.
Yesterday he talking about, okay, I take that back. Aaron Rodgers made him.
The wrong coach for the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy. He's not the guy there. And I think later the Cowboys will see that. I mean, I said earlier it was a safe hire. It wasn't a great hire. It wasn't a Dallas Cowboy hire.
Unfortunately, it's seeming that way right now, Eric.
No mercy.
Thursday, don't miss a classic Big Ten Hoop Showdown on FS1. All-American Trace Jackson Davis leads the Indiana Hoosiers against the 8th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers. That's Thursday at 7 Eastern on FS1, the Fox Sports app. Tom Brady and Tampa are clicking on all cylinders heading into their game against the Washington football team. After dropping back-to-back games against the Rams and the Chiefs, the Bucs won 4 in a row to close the season. And in Sunday's victory, Brady threw his 40th touchdown pass of the year, the second best total of his career, and the best ever total for a quarterback over the age of 40. Eric Dickerson is still with us. Eric, please give Tom a letter grade for his performance this year. It's been special, Edie.
Well, before I give him his grade, I'm gonna tell you why I gave him the grade. First of all, I'm grading him on a curve. You have a COVID year. You had no preseason at all. He did throw over 40 touchdowns. He's top 3 in all categories. A new offense, a new head coach, new players, a new surrounding. They did not win the division, but they're in the playoffs. Lost to the Saints, bad. The last time, lost both games, but the last time they lost very badly. Didn't play well in prime time. But saying that to say this, not even at 43 years old, he was 23 years old. I give Tom Brady an A- on his season this year. I think he played fantastic. I know he probably wanted to play a lot better, but for me, the way Tom played, and right now, when you look at the quarterback position, the days of the drop back quarterback is over. The guy that stands there like a statue. Those days, you have to have a guy that can run and throw, like a Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. That's the new age quarterback, the guy that can roll out of the pocket and also, win with his legs. But for me, I have to say, through everything that Tom Brady has went through this year, the whole NFL has went through. But him moving teams, I give Tom Brady an A- on his play this year.
I gave him a B, and I told you yesterday I had given him a B for the season. I give him credit. He put up better numbers. He played absolutely better than I thought he would. But I'm not going to get carried away with 40 touchdown passes because 30 came against non-playoff teams. Tom Brady went 1-5 against teams that are in the playoffs. He threw 10 touchdowns with 9 interceptions. He was 30-3 against non-playoff teams. Now, and everybody in pro football said, Tom Brady, he's scorching hot the last month of the season. Now, let me tell you the teams that he beat the last month of the season. He played the Falcons twice. They have the 32nd ranked pass defense in the NFL, ED. He played the Minnesota...
Wait, what did they do at Kansas City?
Well, time out, Skip. I'm going to let you have your turn. They played the Minnesota Vikings, and they played the Detroit Lions. Now, Skip Bayless has little to no respect for my first cousin, Kirk Cousins. He said he's an underconfident overachiever. Now, he just had the greatest passing day this past weekend. He threw for 405 and 4 touchdowns against the Detroit Lions. Now, the Minnesota Vikings, we know how terrible that defense and the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons hung 43 points on the Minnesota Vikings defense. Let that sink in for just a second. That's what he did. Now, Tom Brady, he just lit up for 2 weeks, 2 of the last 3 weeks, the worst pass defense in the NFL. I want to know, where were those numbers against the New Orleans Saints or the Chicago Bears? Did he not play those?
Is it my turn?
Did he,
I can go.
Did Bruce Arians pull a Dougie P and set him out those games? Because I could have swore he played. So, for me, I'm not going to get carried away, Skip. I gave him a B. He played better than I thought he would. But I'm not getting carried away with all those touchdowns against bad teams.
My turn?
Yep.
Allow me to compliment the Rambassador for bringing true Hall of Fame wisdom to this show. Unlike the guy across the table from me, who I hear is also in the Hall of Fame, but I'm never quite sure of that. They say there's a bust up there, and on the show, he's mostly just a bust, but I don't know. The point is, Eric's point, I'm also going to go A-. I cannot defend what happened on that Sunday night against New Orleans at Tampa Bay.
What about a Thursday night?
I cannot defend the Thursday night, especially the end of the game, okay? But this went to this, 40 at age 43. And to Eric's point, I reiterate, with no preseason, really no OTAs except virtual, trying to get to know his receivers in some Tampa Bay park from which they got booted because of corona pandemic quarantine. And then there are no preseason games. He's joined the Succaneers, the worst franchise in all of sports history, winning only 30-odd% of its games. A franchise that hasn't been in the playoffs in 13 years. And he takes them to 11-5, their best record in 15 years. And he does it with 40 touchdown passes, to Eric's point, tied for second in the NFL, with 4,633 yards, which is third in the NFL, in an offense that this man, Shannon Sharp, said he will not work in. It's Bruce Arians, no risk it, no biscuit, bombs away offense. And guess what? Tom Brady led the entire league in air distance, so nobody threw it farther than Tom Brady. And nobody was more successful throwing it deep than Tom Brady. This man told me he lost arm strength. He's declined. He's lost his arm talent. I see 43 going on 23. I see the same old Tom Brady, the same old great GOAT Tom Brady.
Okay, look, can we talk about that? You said he had he threw the most deep passes, but he was 19th in completion percentage. ED, if you
that tends to happen when you throw it that deep.
Oh, so now you want to talk about ED. Let me ask you a question, ED. If you have the most rushing attempts, but you finish 19th in rush yard, is that any good, ED?
No, that ain't.
Okay, then. That's what I'm talking about. See, Skip, he got a good look. See, what you try to do, you're about, I'm going to give him an A-. There's levels to this. Let me ask you this, Skip. When somebody says, well, he graduated early, how early? 6 months early or 2 years early? You graduated early in college, right?
Did I?
Yeah.
No.
See, I graduated early.
I thought you said you barely made it.
I'm just saying, I'm making, my point is, Skip, let me tell you what my point is. My point is, you have something, well, he graduating early. My brother, the valedictorian in my brother's senior class, was 15 years old. He graduated 3 years early.
Okay.
Okay, somebody getting like 6 months early is not the equivalent. So what you're trying to do, you're trying to hype him up, throwing all these touchdowns against bad teams. I'm not going to let you do it.
Time out. For 4 straight years on Undisputed, the Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp has tried to send Tom Brady home, saying it's over. You've got to take it home. It's done. You're done.
Well, Skip, I didn't know he was going to go to Tampa and get one of the best receiving groups in the NFL. Do you believe Tom Brady would have put those numbers up with that mess in New England?
No. Well, he knew it. That's why he said, I'm out. But at 43, have you seen him ever be much better than he was at 43? Thank you.
So is he carrying them or are they carrying him?
Oh, he's carrying them. He's taken over the team. He's changed the culture. It's the Patriot way in Tampa Bay.
So what are we going to do about Mike Evans? So how many 1,000-yard seasons did Mike Evans have?
Did he have anywhere near the numbers he had last year when he made the Pro Bowl? No. Did Godwin have it? No. Did they add Antonio Brown when they were 6-2, look like they were the best team in the league? Yes, they did.
They never looked like they're the best team in the league. Stop saying that.
A lot of people are saying that.
Yes. Shannon, one thing you have to look at, I mean, and you know me, I say, Tom Brady's great. Skip says he's the greatest of all time. I say, my guy is Joe Montana, but he is great, no doubt about it.
No question.
He's probably the second greatest. But when you have, and you know this too, you're playing pro football. You playing against the guys on your schedule. I mean, and you win 11 football games in your first year. Think about that. A new team. He's the quarterback. He's not a running back. He's not an offensive lineman. He's the guy that's the general of this football team. An offense that does not even fit him. It's not his style. And he still wins 11 football games. Throws 40 touchdowns at 43 years old. I mean, I have to give him his credit. I mean, because like you said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been one of the worst football organizations. When I played, I loved to play against them. I mean, because I could always get 200 yards.
Let me ask you. So you said that. So let me ask you a question. If you played the Buccaneers, twice, and then you played the 30th ranked rush defense, and you played the 28th ranked rush defense. If you played those on your schedule, how many yards you think you have?
Probably a lot, but you know what? But you know what? He didn't put him on the schedule.
That's what I'm saying. That's
how it felt. And think about it. When he was in the worst division, in NFC East back, they played the Jets, they played the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
It's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same scenario in a way. So, hey, but you got the Saints there also. You got the Saints. And
what did he do against the Saints?
Like I said, 11 games. He won 11. He won 11 football games.
You do realize there's 16 on the schedule, right? So what did he do against the Saints, the Bears, Kansas City?
Against the Saints, the Rams.
I know. No, hold on. So I'm saying, who does the Lions play this weekend? What about the Vikings or the Falcons? Oh, they're not the playoffs. The teams that he got beat are in the playoffs.
So guess what Pro Football Focus said? They graded Tom Brady the second best quarterback over 16 games for the whole season.
No chance.
Second best to Aaron Rodgers. They graded him better than Patrick Mahomes.
Dude.
And they conclude in this article that we all talked about yesterday that Pro Football Focus wouldn't count this team out from representing the NFC in the Super Bowl.
I would lose my mind.
Oh,
hold on.
Interesting.
I mean, so what I'm gonna do with Tannehill? What I'm gonna do with Josh Allen? He had a better overall season than those guys? No.
So once upon a time on this show, not too long ago, Eric Dickerson called Tom Brady an old-ass man. And he is an old-ass man, but he's playing like he's a young-ass man. Am I right?
Oh. You're right. I got to get you right about that, Skip.
But I guess what, ED, I won 5 more cases. They didn't win the division. I came into 2021 down. And guess what happened? I'm already up.
You had to bring that up, Shannon.
I'm up already.
But he who laughs last laughs best.
He's an old-ass man with plenty of touchdowns and plenty to play for on Sunday. Eric, we so appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. We'll check in with you very soon.
No mercy.
The Browns are in the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. And while that alone may be enough for some Cleveland fans, Baker Mayfield has higher expectations for his team, saying, quote, "We're not satisfied. We expected to be here." The Browns will open the playoffs on the road against the division rival Steelers on Sunday night. But Cleveland just got news that head coach Kevin Stefanski has tested positive for COVID, which means special teams coach Mike Prefer will serve as acting head coach. This is breaking news there, guys. But Shannon, how will this affect Stefanski and the Browns to not have him able to coach on Sunday?
He calls the plays.
Yep.
That's a big difference. There's one thing, Skip. If there was an offensive coordinator that called the plays and Kevin Stefanski just oversaw everything. But that's not what Bruce Arians being out, Skip, that's a whole different ballgame. Because Byron Leftwich calls the plays.
Yep.
You can find somebody to oversee everything. Okay, this is how we're going to challenge it. Bruce Arians will brief everybody. Okay, challenge certain situations. This is how we're going to do it. But Stefanski calls the plays.
Yep.
This is a whole different ball game. And the way he might call a game, as opposed to if the special teams coach, or I don't know who's going to call the game now, it's totally different, Skip, because they might be seeing things differently.
Yep.
So this is a huge deal for Baker Mayfield. So, and I like what Baker said. Baker says, hey, we expected to be here. We have bigger fish to fry. I love that talking, but I think he's going to see Pittsburgh as a different animal. Pittsburgh's feel very good. They're like, hold on, bro. We were a 2-point conversion from tying this thing up with Mason Rudolph. With no T.J. Watt, no Ben Roethlisberger, a lot of our weapons, no Cam Hayward. So we feel very good with where we are seeing you guys again. And don't forget, y'all still the little brother. That's how they look. Skip, that's how they look at Cleveland. They look at Cleveland as a little brother. You won a game, and now all of a sudden you think you big brother. You're not. So.
Okay, so I was obviously a big Baker fan going into the draft. I said take him first overall. They did, shock to many people. You got on the bandwagon for a little while. Now you're pretty much off the bandwagon.
I'm on Josh Allen's bandwagon.
Okay. Over the last 10 games, something has happened to Baker Mayfield because he's gone through so many coordinators and head coaches in his very brief NFL career so far that suddenly he found a comfort zone with Kevin Stefanski. Obviously, the running game and the defense had something to do with that, but he found a comfort zone that he hasn't had since Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma.
Right.
And nobody can call plays better than Lincoln Riley can. And Stefanski has been highly impressive to me because I still say they're going to go as far as the passing game takes them. As great as their running game has been over these 10 games, they've ranked 10th in rushing yards. So it hasn't been like they're first or second in rushing yards.
What are they ranking in passing?
Okay, well, Baker Mayfield has 16 touchdowns to 2 interceptions over the last 10 games. And you cannot tell me that it was just pure coincidence that this happened without Odell, because Odell went down early in that Cincinnati game. That's 10 games back. And here they went. 7-3 over those 10 games. And again, your favorite website, Pro Football Focus, ranked Baker over those 10 games the 5th best quarterback in the league. So he's playing at a top 5 level very quietly over 10 games. 16 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. They are going as the quarterback goes because many of those games were won with him throwing more than you thought he should be throwing.
Obviously, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, they made the playoffs. The Browns are 3rd in rushing. And they're 24th in passing. What position did Baker play?
Yeah,
running back or quarterback?
But what happened over those 10? Because that's when they took off, was over the 10 games. They were struggling up until then. I told you, he got so Odell conscious, Odell centric. I got to get the ball to Odell. And the defense is saying, we're not going to give you Odell, and I'm going to force it to him anyway. And it was disastrous. It was disastrous last year, and it was disastrous early this year. And all of a sudden, things clarified with Jarvis as the go-to receiver and get Higgins back in the mix more and throw the ball, spread the wealth a little bit. Yes, everybody. The rookie, obviously, from Michigan. And all of a sudden, they look like an offense. They look like a football team. And Stefanski had a lot to do with that because he called the game with a rhythm that Baker had missed since he was at Oklahoma.
But, Skip, if you think about it, Cleveland is the best offensive line, the thread-burst running attack, the 24th.
They've got an offensive line.
Now, but Skip, Baker is 30th in completion percentage and 17th in yards per attempt. That's not, you don't go to the playoffs with that.
Okay, you go because you had a 10-game stretch where you threw 16 touchdowns to 2 interceptions.
So what are we going to do about Nick Chubb?
Okay, and before he threw the first interception in that stretch, he had gone, 187 straight passes? Yeah, 187 straight attempts with no interception. He has cleaned up his act.
So you believe in order for them to win the game, Baker's going to have to throw them the victory.
Absolutely. In the end, you're going to go as far as his arm will take you and his legs because he can move.
Okay.
All right? So we'll see. I agree with you. Do I love this without Kevin? No, I don't.
No.
Because you go out and you don't have your security blanket anymore. Are you going to trust the voice in your ear now?
How you go from one guy calling the play to somebody that's never, I don't know if the guy that's going to call the plays has ever called plays before. In a playoff game, your first game of calling plays, Skip, It's not the preseason, not a regular season, it's playoff.
It's your arch rival in their place.
Right. And this is your first time making the playoffs in 17 years?
Yeah.
Because we supposed that have made it. They beat the Falcons. We were cheering for the Falcons to beat them, and I think Vic was on that team. I think Vic might have fumbled the ball. They went for it on 4th down, and I don't think they got it.
Yep.
I think that's what happened. I think Warwick Dunn was there then, and they ended up not getting it on 4th down. But they would have been 18 years because we'd have got the playoffs.
Okay, but you didn't, and they did. So here
But we got the playoffs after that. They had been in 17 years.
Okay. I still, again, will he have a good game against a Pittsburgh defense that you have some questions about? Because obviously they're injury-riddled, right? Mm-hmm. They lost Bud Dupree. They lost Devin Bush. So I still expect Baker to play well. Would I pick them to win this game? Not under this circumstance,
No,
I would.
I would not.
Yep.
I wasn't going to pick them if they had Stefanski.
Oh, that's a tough blow right now for this team. And I'm
having to shake and bake.
Josh Allen, you better get on Josh Allen train. You saw it. You saw what he did, Skip. You in the last 2 games.
Okay. Yep.
No mercy.
2 title matches are on tap as Big E defends his Intercontinental title, and the Street Profits battle Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. An all-new Friday Night SmackDown, live at 8 Eastern on Fox.
After falling to the Bills this past weekend, the Dolphins came up just short of the playoffs despite finishing the season with 10 wins. Tua Tagovailoa struggled in the loss, throwing 3 interceptions and only 1 touchdown. And now there's some question about whether the rookie from Alabama is the long-term answer at quarterback. Miami will select 3rd in this year's draft after acquiring Houston's pick last season. And Pro Football Focus suggests that while Tua may not be a bust, the team would be smart to draft another QB this year at number 3. So, Shannon, you have been a Tua supporter. Mm-hmm. What's your response to this idea?
Yeah, Pro Football Focus makes absolutely no sense. That's like my financial guy said, well, Shannon, you're struggling on the money end, but it'd be smart for you to go buy a new car. Who the hell? I thought you said I was struggling. I'm trying to make this. You said go buy a new car?
What if your car that you have right now is a lemon?
It ain't no lemon. 9 games. Skip the man that said played 9 games. You got to look. Miami has capital. They got the 3rd pick, the 18th pick. They got 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders. They got 4 of the top 50, 3 of the top 36 picks. Mm-hmm. So, Skip, for me, they need playmakers. Their receivers, they drop too many passes. They don't have enough playmakers for Tua. And Tua, what is Tua used to having? Playmakers out the gazoo. I mean, Jalen Waddle had Ruggs. He had Jerry Jeudy. He had
the Heisman Trophy winner.
Devontae Smith. Yep. He had Najee Harris. Yep. Skip, he needs playmakers. Mm-hmm. And you have the resources to give him that. You still have cap space to attract somebody in free agency, Skip. I would not spend that. Because the first 2 picks, I believe, off the board will probably be, and if I'm Miami, I'm smart. I'm not telling you what I'm going to do. Somebody might want to come on up here, Skip, and give me something. I might give me another first-round pick and be able to get the people that I want to put around Tua. So I'm not telling you. I was reading the paper yesterday. Brian Flores could have come out and said Tua's our guy. Why would I do that? That's the problem. I'm not telling you what I'm going to do. That's the old Belichick. I'm not telling you what I'll do. Come draft, when we get closer to the draft, make me an offer I can't refuse, and you get that 3rd pick. But I wouldn't do it, Skip. I would not do it because Tua wasn't even really supposed to play this year. So basically, you got an opportunity to look. I believe he will be just fine. Put some playmakers around him and go play and win and contend for the division next year.
So, Shannon Sharp.
Yes.
This is the first college quarterback that you ever latched onto.
Yes.
And I believe you picked the wrong college bandwagon to drive into pro football.
I'm right with Tua.
I told you before the draft, I told you last year during the year, this is not the right guy. I don't think Miami wanted to take him 5th overall. They felt forced to because they couldn't make a deal with Cincinnati for the 1st pick for Joe Burrow. I think they, by far on their draft board, had Joe Burrow ranked above Tua.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Especially with that injury, Skip?
It reportedly, he had 5 different surgeries while he was playing college football at Alabama. What Shannon Sharp always preached, hurt in college, hurt in the pros. Yeah. So that's issue number 1. That's big red flag number 1. Is he a great kid? Yes, he is. Can he be a leader for? Yes, no doubt about those intangibles. But he's about 6 feet tall. and he's a soft armor to me. He's a dart thrower, and it worked at Alabama because he had a track team. He had 4 first-round picks at wideout because I think Jalen Waddle will go in the. I know he hurt himself. God bless him. I'm knocking on wood
He'll
for him.
probably be healed by then.
But hey,
he's going to run a very, very fast time.
He's going to run very fast. He'll be somewhere later in the first round, I think.
Yes.
And my God, Devontae Smith. Not only do I believe he'll win the Heisman, but is he going to go top 5?
Yeah.
He dominates games. He takes over games. And Tua had all these, and you mentioned Najee Harris. Is there anybody better at that position right now? And you can hand it to him, or you can just flip it to him and let him cook in the open field.
Well, Skip, for me, look, if somebody doesn't come up and make me an offer I refuse, I'll probably take that big tackle. And then I'll use some of my capital to come back up and probably get a Devontae or Jamar Chase, one of those guys. But I need to surround. I need playmakers for Tua. Okay. And I believe if I get in some playmakers, I can contend.
So what do you do with this stat? On big-time throws, the throws 20-plus down the field this season, he was the worst in the NFL in his percentage of completions on big-time throws because he's not a big-arm quarterback. No, that's not what he does. You can argue he didn't have enough weapons to get downfield.
Well, Skip, if you're not a big-arm quarterback, you have to throw on anticipation.
Yep.
And he's not ready to do that yet because in Alabama, the guys were so wide open, he can let them be open. But if you don't have a big arm, Skip, you got to throw in anticipation. Your anticipatory skills need to be exquisite.
And he had a career-threatening hip surgery.
Yes.
That raised grave doubts around the league about how high he should go. And he did recover, it looks like 100% from that, but it took away a little bit of his quickness to my eye. I don't see him move quite the way he did at Alabama.
And plus, Skip, guess what? He rehabbed. Now he get a chance to train. Because you remember now, he was just rehabbing. He was doing no training. Now he gets an opportunity to train. You watch next year.
Okay, so they
Book it, 30 tubs.
They have the 3rd overall pick.
Yeah.
30 touchdowns. Okay, I'm going to put that.
30 tubs, book it.
Okay. Case it?
Case it.
I predicted Tom Brady would throw 40 this year, and I hit it right on the nose.
Yeah.
So I don't know about 30 for this kid.
30 for Tua.
Well, are you sure he's going to be the starter?
Yeah.
What about Fitzmagic? Is he still going to be there? Because all the big moments this team had this year were Fitzmagic.
We might have to let Fitzmagic go because Tua going to continuously look over his shoulder as long as he knows that guy there.
Yeah, his big brother. It's not even his big brother. It's his father, right?
Yeah, he going to have to go.
Okay, so they got the 3rd pick. So they're going to have to think long and hard about where will Justin Fields go? Or, I'll go one better for you, could they package the 3rd with all their other draft haul? What if Jacksonville would think about giving up Trevor? I don't think they would for any amount of draft capital.
Skip, you remember what happened in '89? It was between the Cowboys and the Packers. And for some bonehead reason, the Packers won the game, and they lost Troy Aikman. The Packers selected Tony Mandarich.
What was that about?
You see what happens, Skip? When you that high and you believe that guy, Troy Aikman and the Peyton Mannings and the John Elway, they change franchises. Tackles don't really change franchises, Skip. I'm sorry. Okay. And if you believe you got that guy...
Well, you just said somebody's going to want that big tackle from Oregon, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying, who wants him? Now, I'm not necessarily I want it, but if somebody come up and make me an offer I can't refuse, well, hey, but I'm just not moving out of that top spot. I'm not giving up Trevor Lawrence.
All right, so what have I seen from Justin Fields? Well, the other night, he was off the charts sensational. It was almost like he didn't even have to look where he was throwing. He was just rearing back and firing it, and it was hitting somebody right in the hands.
Yes.
I watched him carefully against Indiana and then against Northwestern.
I didn't see that.
He wasn't great.
Right.
He was hit and a lot of miss.
Right.
And it scared me. And I know I saw in Todd McShay's draft order, he dropped him from 2 all the way down to, I believe, 9th.
Right.
Okay, now what? What do you do with that? Because I don't know if you can play any better.
No.
Obviously, than he played against what I thought was a pretty good defense.
I mean, you think about it, and the pressure that the other kid was under, Trevor Lawrence, and he still threw for 400.
He did.
That's why
he had quietly a pretty great game.
Why he's going number 1, Skip, is because of what you saw him do under that kind of duress.
Okay, but if you fall in love with Justin Fields, should you think about it? Because Justin Fields can move now.
He can.
He's a big kid.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence can move.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a substantial, downgrade. You will get Kyler Murray 1 and you're going to get a statue in the other. Trevor Lawrence can move. You skip. They run him on a lot of QB draws.
Yeah.
And remember, he housed it on Ohio State last year.
He did. So I watched Zach Wilson in his bowl game, and I don't know what to do with it, but I'm just not sure. I'm not sold.
I'm just BYU quiet.
No, I got it. And then I haven't seen Trey Lance, so I don't know what to do. But I'm just saying a lot of people are going to fall in love with one of those quarterbacks up high.
Yeah.
So are you going to trade your pick, or are you going to fall in love and say, we got to go up, we got to upgrade on what we have with Tua?
I wouldn't do that, Skip.
I think in their heart of hearts, they don't think Tua is the long-term solution.
Because even if you upgrade, Skip, you're never going to get the value that you gave up to get him. Nobody's going to give you that kind of... Look what Josh Rosen got you.
Mm-hmm.
No, you trade that, you're not going to get back compensation for him.
No mercy.
Shannon's guy, Baby Bird, I apologize, I said Little Bird earlier, a.k.a. Luka Doncic, had his first triple-double of the season in the Mavs win over the Rockets last night. Luka finished with 33 points, 16 rebounds, and 11 assists, all of which were season highs for the 22-year-old. Luka's coach, Rick Carlisle, was clearly impressed by what he saw, telling reporters, I can't say that I'm surprised. He's a great player. It's pretty clear now that he's working his way back to where he needs to be. So, Shannon, how impressive was your guy, Luka, last night?
Very, and he shouldn't have to work his way back. You should have been there. Hell, that's your job. You're a professional athlete. You use training camp to get in shape. In shape. But that's what I expect from Baby Bird. I expect the stat line like that, and he got it going again. And Skip, look, you're going to let him shoot 41% from the three, let him make 95% of their free throws, and you let Tim Hardaway Jr., who's in a new role, he's made it abundantly clear, I want to start. But Rick Carlisle brought him off the bench. You let him go 8 from 10 from the three, you losing.
Oh, so he made 8 of 10 threes, and wonder how that helped Baby Sparrow. Right?
Oh, Baby
When
Sparrow.
that's the story of the night? And wait a minute, DeMarcus Cousins got tossed with 2 quick tees after he played 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and there's no rim protector for Houston. They had to go small ball the whole night, and Luka could just bully them inside.
Yeah.
And you're raving and gloating about a game like that?
Luka bully everybody inside, except Go.
And, you know, he had a great night from 3 for him. 3 for 10 from 3. That raised him all the way up to 20%. He was 5 of 31 going in, 16%. He's now a 20% three-point shooter.
We're working
on
that. We're working on it, Skip. We got to get in shape.
Somebody told me before the game he was shooting half-court shots.
Yes.
Do those count 3? Maybe he should just step back and just shoot them from half-court.
Right now, Skip, we're not in the conditioning that we need to be in.
Oh.
So as we round our way back into shape, you watch him. You watch him.
Yep.
Pretty soon he gonna come in probably by year 5 or 6. He gonna come in sculpted.
Oh, is he? Want to bet on that? Even Larry Bird was never sculpted.
Nah, he was going. Yeah, no.
Right?
If he got that body, he ain't gonna be sculpted. He's just gonna be like that. But he gonna be lighting people up. Got something for your Clippers. I bet he got something for your Clippers. Gonna put a triple dub on PG
well,
head.
We'll see. We owe him for one.
What y'all owe him for?
Well,
you better be glad they got Porzingis.
They beat us by 51.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Just imagine if they had Porzingis the whole night against y'all.
Remember that?
Baby
I'm glad
Sparrow.
we ended on a good note for you, Shannon, talking about Baby Bird. He's getting back to it. Good stuff today, guys. That's it for Undisputed. We're back same time tomorrow. Have a good day.